Summer is typically the best time of year to venture outside and take advantage of everything that nature has to offer. Summer is frequently associated with outdoor exploration, whether the activity is hiking, camping, a relaxing trip to the beach, or a more quiet lakeside retreat. However, some people decide to completely avoid the outdoor mischief. There might be a few more after viewing the newest survival drama on Netflix, Keep Breathing. This show is not for the glampers out there, so be forewarned. Avoid the limited series starring Melissa Barrera that premiered on July 28 if you're afraid of camping, getting lost in the woods, or surviving in nature. The show centers around a New York attorney named Liv Barrera, who, after a serious plane crash, gets stranded in the wilderness. When she learns that Liv has abruptly left without informing anyone, her friend becomes concerned because she has never taken a vacation. Liv becoming lost in the midst of the wilderness with no way to contact anyone who can assist her complicates matters further. The emphasis of the series is Liv's struggle for survival. She benefits greatly from her common sense and some knowledge she acquired during her time in the Girl Scouts. However, things turn out badly for her because she suffers wounds that would typically be fatal. Here is everything you need to know if you've been wondering what happens to Liv and what it means for her future. Liv's flight is a day late and she must travel to Inuvik. She jumps at the chance to travel on a plane with two odd men since she needs to meet someone who won't stay in one spot for more than a day. When the plane crashes, both men die and she discovers they weren't who they claimed to be. She makes a horrible choice. They are not the kind of individuals that someone would come looking for, and since Liv never revealed her whereabouts, nobody would be interested in finding her. Liv uses her cunning and fast thinking to survive when she is all by herself in the midst of a jungle without any indication of civilization. She experiences hallucinations, fears being attacked by a bear, and remembers all the things that motivated her to take the trip and land in the forest. After giving it some thought, she chooses a direction in which she hopes to come across a settlement, or at the very least a single individual who can assist her. She loses her belongings and gets lost a few times, and things only seem to get worse from there. Liv is a person who works hard. She persists regardless of the circumstances. It becomes apparent throughout the series that she will take any and all measures necessary to locate civilization and save herself. Things seem to work out for her with a lot of luck and some quick thinking. She still has to fight to stay alive, but at least she is still alive compared to the two men she was traveling with. No matter how hopeless things may appear to be, Liv always manages to find a solution. In doing so, she demonstrates her resourcefulness and demonstrates to the audience why she excels at her profession back in New York. She is ultimately left with nothing, though. She has no water or resources she had brought from the crash scene because her backpack was left in the cave. She just has her mother's postcards in her luggage and is traveling empty-handed. She is dehydrated and starving, and one of her legs is broken. She is unable to continue walking for very long and yet cannot see a single individual. The river blocking her path is another issue. She cannot cross it, hence she is currently confined to one location. She sees a vision of her father, who gives her some closure regarding her mother and demonstrates to her that she won't necessarily end up like her. Liv eventually overcomes her remaining dread and chooses to try one final time to be discovered by someone. She wades into the river holding the postcards close and uses the log to help keep her afloat. She gets carried far downstream by the river, losing both the log and the postcards in the process. Her entire life passes before her eyes as she recalls all the happy and sad moments, all the decisions she made, and the effects those decisions had on her. Two people find her just as it seems she will inevitably drown in the river, and no one will ever know what happened to her. She is unconscious when they bring her out of the water. She already had some injuries, but she also got some more in the river. The hypothermia issue plus all the water she ingested while bouncing up and down in the sea are additional concerns. The males eventually give up after a few tries, but Liv persists. Despite being severely injured, she is still able to breathe. Just before the picture goes dark, Liv wakes up, letting the spectator know that she has survived in spite of all odds. Liv experienced a lot of horrible experiences, which caused her to isolate herself from other people. Liv doesn't let anyone to get close to her because she believes that because her mother abandoned her, everyone else will also do the same. But then Danny enters her life and things start to look up. She laughs, dances, and enjoys herself, but as soon as she feels abandoned, she tries to push him away. She unexpectedly breaks up with him just as things were beginning to go well. She thinks back on her time with Danny as a source of comfort as she experiences the events that shaped her life when trapped in the forest. Despite the fact that they both clearly felt a strong attraction to one another, she begins to regret having her guard up and preventing him from approaching her. She had been concerned that she could resemble her mother. That, like her mother did with her father, either Danny would leave her or she would leave him. In a similar line, she is concerned that she wouldn't be a good mother and might steer her child into the same path that her own mother did. But in the end, she learns that in trying to avoid being like her mother, she is actually doing the same thing. She consequently sees a peek of her future as she floats in the river after her life flashes before her eyes. Before, she'd been seeing hallucinations of Danny, but after talking to him, she saw that, had she let him, he could have been a wonderful help. He would have been a terrific father and would have listened to her issues. She is also reassured by this that none of her self-doubts were really persuasive. She would be a good mother as well if she tried. And how would that appear? She had been mired in the past all this time, but now that she has a glimpse of the future, she sees that it has the potential to be positive but only if she lets it. She may be happy being with Danny and raising a child with him. Although Liv's exact circumstances following her rescue are unknown, it may be assumed that she returned to New York with a new outlook on life. She returned to Danny and began living the life she had imagined during what appeared to be her last moments in the river. She was able to break free from her mother's influence on her life and blossom into her own identity as a result.